Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Buenas tardes, damas y caballeros. Welcome back to the Raritan River Music Festival, Week 3, coming to you from New Jersey and New York and all sorts of places all over the world, and bringing it to you. We're very, very pleased tonight to have a musical forest tonight, the music of Spain. And we have Sebastian Zubieta, who's going to join us before the concert just for a brief moment of introduction. We did want to let you know that there are program notes and words to any of the songs of tonight's music, and that's all available at raritanrivermusic.org, a new page that Dave O, our webmaster, has posted called Program Notes. And right there, you can click on it and see everything about tonight's concert.
We also wanted to thank the June and Ira Cap Foundation for sponsoring the show tonight. June and Ira were longtime patrons of both musical and visual arts in Hunterdon County, and we really thank the foundation for their sponsorship again this season.
As Sebastian has written in the notes for tonight, he hopes that everybody will enjoy this stroll through this particular Spanish musical forest, La Selva Musical.
And we'd just like to introduce Sebastian Zubieta, the director of Meridionalis and of Music at the American Society, and actually thank him a million times for the assistance of the American Society, which everybody doesn't know quite how much they're doing to bring this concert series to you over the internet. But we definitely could not have done it without them. So thank you, Sebastian. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about what's about to happen.
Oh, yes. And just before you do, a quick reminder, please, everybody, stick around after the concert for the reception. We'll have cava and maybe some tapas. And we'll be talking with Sebastian and learn more about the production of this concert and all the work that went into it. So, Maestro, take it away.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Michael. We're very happy to be back here. For the audience that don't know us, we have been working together for, I think it's going on a decade now that we have been doing projects both at the American Society and Raritan. We were here 7 years ago. So it's really exciting to work with you, and we're very happy to be back. And in the American Society helped with the back end of this. It takes some work. We are very happy to be able to help you to do this. I don't want to say much about the program. It is a forest. The title of the first book, I will speak in the middle, so I don't want to give everything away. But the book that opens, the collection that opens this concert is called Forest of Sirens, Silva de Sirenas. It's a guitar book published in the 1500s. So that's why we thought that this was a good title to be in a forest that has music, some guitars, some strings, and other things that you will see. This concert was recorded in December, and we have created some additional stuff to go with it for this festival. So we'll be happy to be here. We will be in the concert. We'll be here having something to eat, maybe an olive at the end. So stick around, and thank you for watching. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Tonight's concert is dedicated to music from the collection of the Hispanic Society of America. The first piece we heard was one of 171 pieces included in this guitar collection published in the 1500s by Enriquez de Valderrábano, who was a very important guitarist and a theorist that lived in Spain in the 16th century. He wrote his book called Silva de Sirenas, which means the Forest of Sirens, which I think is a wonderful title, and includes music by himself and adaptations for the vihuela of music by other composers of the time. The vihuela is the predecessor, or one of the predecessors, of the guitar, very popular in Spain in the 15 and 1600s. After that, we heard the first two movements of one of Palestrina's masses. Palestrina was extremely famous. He was a rock star of church music during the 16th century. Extremely influential. His music was studied and performed everywhere. He became the paragon of Renaissance polyphony. He wrote this mass, which is called Ut Re Mi Fa Sol La. We'll get back to why it's called that way. Now we continue with the concert. And one more thing, the image you see here is Palestrina presenting his masses to the Pope.
We just heard music from two influential Spanish treatises from the 17th century. Musicians would often write, and they do still today, books in which they instruct students on how to do different things, how to sing, how to play, how to compose. These two treatises were very, very popular during their times. I want to speak particularly about one of them, written by Pietro Cerone, who was an Italian music theorist that worked for the Spanish crown in Naples when it was part of Spain. And he was born in 1566 and wrote this book that is called, it has a very long title, El melopeo y maestro, Tratado de música teórica y práctica, en que se pone por extenso lo que uno para hacerse perfecto músico ha menester de saber. Which means, el melopeo, the melopy is like a melody, and master. It's a treatise of theoretical and practical music in which it is explained in detail everything one needs to learn in order to become a perfect musician. It was published in 1613, and the explanations are indeed extensive. It has 22 volumes, 1,100 pages, roughly. It's really, things are explained in extenso, as he says. It has many chapters on the basics, figures, how to notate, how to sing, also some ideas because it's theoretical and practical. But one of the interesting things that it has is that one of the last books of the treatise has a collection of 50 things that he calls enigmas, 50 pieces that he calls enigmas. We will hear one of them right now. We heard one before, we'll hear one now. The score that he gives us is what you see now. As you can see, it's no score. It's just a little drawing of a ladder and some writing on it. The trick is that there is an explanation on how to do this. There's a poem and there's an explanation on how to do it. Basically, there's a ladder that has 6 steps. The tenor of the group, one of the voices, has to sing the steps of the ladder, like the musical notes. Da, 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 da. And then he has to come down. La, da, 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 da. But he has to wait in the middle for a little while. The name of the syllables are ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. That was a system invented in the year 1000, or we think it was invented or everybody thinks that it was invented in the year 1000 by an Italian monk called Guido d'Arezzo, who was, I think, tired of trying to teach songs to his choir in his church. It's not clear. He says he does complain that they're not very good at reading and learning music, so he wanted them to be able to read, to learn faster what they had to sing. So he invented this system in which he assigned each note in the scale. They had 6 notes in their conception of the scale at the time. Each note in the scale has a name, and he would teach them, showing them their hand. He would point. That's how we think it works. From the description, he would put his hand and he would point here, and then this would be la, and this would be ta, di. So he would ta, di. That's how we think it works. In any case, the notes were called ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. If you recall, ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la is the name of the Palestrina Mass. He wrote many with different subjects, some with melodies that he borrowed from other people, some with motifs, but in this one in particular, he makes a nod to the idea of solfege, of teaching people how to sing, and that's why he calls it that way. And you can hear the same melody that all the voices in the choir have been singing, and that will sing a little more in the movements that are still left in the concert. And you will hear them also in one of the parts of the string quartet in the piece that is coming now. So we just heard Cerone's Enigma de la Scala, so the scale, de re mi fa sol la, followed by another movement of the Mass that shares the same melody. Now, the last treatise I will introduce tonight is one by Gaspar Sanz. Much later, at the end of the 17th century, he wrote a book to teach people how to play the guitar. So we will hear one of those pieces. We will conclude the Mass, and we will hear another piece that comes from a different treatise, or freely written. They would often include pieces as examples of, spend thousands of pages explaining how to do it. In the end, they show you how to do it. So that's the last piece of the concert. We want to thank Laura and Michael for inviting us to Raritan River Music again. We were here last in 2012. We also want to thank the Hispanic Society Library and Museum for inviting us to go through the forest of their musical archive and letting us bring this music to life. And we thank you for watching.
Hello, Sebastian.
Yes, hey, I'm here.
I just was looking through my photographs, and of course, we were having a little chat while the pieces by Enrique da Valderrabano were playing. And in case you think that is an abstraction, we went to Valderrabano.
I know. What I said is that they're not sure if he was born in Valderrabano or in another little town that is 100 miles away to the south.
Like
Because,
how
how
much uncertainty can there be about a thing? Well, so like this is the house of Enrique de Valderrabano.
That's his house?
Not really, no. But
Could be.
could be, but like we visited there, and I have to tell you what a fly speck the place actually is.
Wow.
But like because
Down.
think about it, I'm working on it. We were on the Camino de Santiago. We did a guitar event there, and actually this is Valderrabano.
Well, it looks lovely.
It is beautiful. Just
It's very beautiful, yeah.
It looks like Nebraska. Honestly, I don't know if you've been to that
No,
part.
I
of the
haven't,
state.
no.
It's a great big plateau, and there's a lot of wheat grown there, and a lot of poplars,
Well,
which
that's good.
which are lyrics of songs that we know by Rodrigo.
Right.
But like when we went there, and a lot of sunflowers. But when we went there, it was pretty clear like why those are major subjects of Spanish songs.
Because they're everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's just huge, and I have to say we're enjoying our reception now.
Very good.
pretending it's cava.
Good.
Salud.
Cheers. I just have a can, but
Well,
cheers.
What do you say, pretending? No, it's actually crema. Sorry. But it's good.
That was really, really beautiful music. And we'd like to know, how do you go about choosing from all the thousands and thousands of pieces available?
Yeah, that's a good question. Usually, so for this program in particular, we wanted to, of course, there's thousands, and they have one particular collection that has a couple hundred pieces that was put together at the end of the 19th century. It's a lovely collection. But what I did is I went through the catalog, and then you look for one thing that will kind of carry you through it. So in this case, the idea of theory, so the idea for this program was to do something with music theory, right? So that the ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So okay, there's a mass. Great, let's put that in. Then that gives you a bunch of music and movements that are traditional split up. You do the Kyrie and the Gloria, then you do something else, then you do the Creed, then you do something else, etc. So that gives you the outlines of the form. And then I was looking at the other. So I went through the Cerone, not through all the 1,000 pages, the enigmas, which are these things that he puts little drawings and tells you how to do it. It's the last book. It's about 50, there's about 50 of them. So I went through them, and the ones that looked like they had this, they had the scale, they had the da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so that gave the whole thing cohesion. And then while I was looking into the treatises, some of them have musical examples, like the ones that we played here, the solo song with the soprano and the theorbo, and the last song, those come also from treatises. So and for this program, I focused on the treatises, and when they had music that was nice and that fit well, so that was because that was kind of the path through the jungle. It was the path of theory and of a scale.
Well, we were using the page of the book with the elephant in it.
Yes,
as one of the promotional pieces for the concert. And I still can't figure out what the elephant has to do with it.
Well, I can read. I'll get back to you. I can't remember exactly. Just there's like that scale, that the drawing of the scale. There's all sorts of drawings, because that might have been the title of the piece. So that enigma was called Enigma of the Elephant, for example. And it says, like the elephant has a very long memory, the second part has to remember with the first part. There's always a little poem, a little explanation about that. I'm not sure about the elephant, but it didn't fit in this case because the others fit better, but there's a lot of, it's very poetic in his theorizing.
Good grief.
Yes.
Well,
Oh,
We were talking. This is for our reception. So,
nice.
Please,
do you
please
have
some.
your reception?
No, sorry, I haven't had dinner yet, so I have.
Okay.
Well, neither have we.
I was just kind of fascinated with Spain when we went there, and we were on this pilgrimage route. We were at this town that was, I mean, there's a lot of really fly-speck towns, and Valderrábano, I have to say, is one of them. There was like not one single commercial operation on there. It was just a collection of houses and, farmers, I suppose. But it did make you wonder, like, how did somebody like Enrique de Valderrábano end up being kind of a big wheel? And he was he was a bigger wheel than you would think coming from a place like that. But we learned that actually the city Valladolid, which was not very far from where we were, Valladolid was the capital of Spain during the time of Ferdinand and Isabella.
Right, so it is a big town, yeah.
Right, and that was where they set up one of their courts. They weren't there forever, but that was like as they were trying to push further south, they set up shop. And so some very famous people were associated with Valladolid, like Columbus. And,
right, exactly.
Cervantes' house.
Cervantes, right. Well, that shows you that politics change and things change. So fast. We're used to things being one way, but Spain at the time when Valderrama was born was in Spain. Was half of it was a caliphate, and so it was it's around that time. So things changed a lot. And as you said, as they pushed south, they moved the capital, et cetera, et cetera. So he was from a small town, but he wasn't isolated. It was because we think that without telephones, you cannot communicate, but people did communicate too. And they did move around and go places. So
I think they had Zoom. They did mostly Zoom meetings.
Well, the other guy who was from very near where we were was Torquemada, who was
that's nice. He's a nice fellow, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Inquisition torture guy. And there's a town, like really in that same orbit, like close to Valderrábano, that's Torquemada, and like that's where he was from. And I guess he had an uncle who, was a bigwig in the church around there. So these guys managed to find positions, but if you go there, it looks
right. It's it's changed.
It's not like how did this happen? Yeah, it's changed. But the other thing that was very hugely interesting to me about that part of Spain, and is probably true of other places as well, was how much Roman stuff there was.
Oh yeah.
And people were discovering in like the 50s and 60s Roman villas under their cornfields or wheat fields, I should say. They don't grow corn.
Right, yeah.
But they were coming up with these like little squares of tile when they would plow. And lo and behold, underneath are these incredible mosaic floors of Roman villas that were extremely elaborate. So, the Romans had a major league toehold there. So,
yes,
people have been, messing around there for a very long time.
Exactly. That's the bottom line. Yes, people have been going back and forth in those places for a long, long time. Yes. And if you dig a bit, you find it. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought about a lot when we were traveling around northern and central Spain is I kept seeing architecture and I'd say, oh, wow, it's just like in the New World. I've seen things like this in Peru, or I've seen things like this in Argentina.
Yeah, guess what?
I've seen things like this in Colombia, and then realized, oh, wait, this is where it came from.
That's right. Yes. Because, when they moved, they did the things as they used to do them. Yeah. The wheel is always turning. Yes. And then, of course, and I think where the beauty is, so this time the program was all music from Spain. But when I think, and one thing that gets interesting for me is when you see what happens, because yes, it is the same, but it's not exactly the same. And that I think therein lies the beauty of all that, of those clashes. People move and then they keep doing what they were doing, but they can't do it the same way because you can't. So things creep in that were not there before.
But thank you again for sharing the concert, and we'll do it again sometime when we can be live again.
Yeah, it would be wonderful. Yes,
we've started to see in Europe now they're doing drive-in concerts.
Oh wow!
I think the guitar is not an easy instrument to hear in the parking lot of a drive-in theater, but perhaps if amplified, that yes, it can work. And again, we'd like to thank you and America's Society for sponsoring all of the concerts this month. People can see the past concerts at Raritan River Music.org. Just scroll down through all the stuff. Please feel free to donate to help make this possible. And next week, we will have Philadelphia Flute Quartet, and they'll be doing a new piece by Eric Sessler, the composer. It's called Hidden River. It's about the Schuylkill River, not too far from our part of the world here.
That's excellent. So thank you guys again for inviting us. It's always a pleasure to work with you, and I hope we'll see you in person soon. That would be nice.
So. Yes, cheers to that. Against the pandemic. Cheers.
And to everybody, thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.